This is the Horse Radio Network.
This is episode 243 of the Dressage Radio Show on the Horse Radio Network.
This is Reese Koffler-Stanfield from Georgetown, Kentucky.
And this is Philip Parks from Fergus, Ontario, and you're listening to the Dressage Radio Show. Well, welcome back, Reese.
Thanks, Phil. It's nice to be home.
You're back from all your travels?
I am. We had an amazing 2 weeks in South Africa. It really was a life-changing trip. It was wonderful and met some great people. And of course, horse people always meet horse people. And so I met some really cool horse people that I wasn't planning on meeting. One young lady, and hopefully she's listening to the show. Hi, Riza. She has show jumpers, but they own a banana farm in South Africa. So of course, I went to her barn and we talked horses, which was fun. After 2 weeks, I needed to touch a horse. And it was great. Really, the highlight of the trip was we went to Kruger National Park and we saw the Big Five, which is a really big deal there. You don't always get to go. Yeah, it's a big deal. We saw elephants and we had a rhinoceros literally walk right behind our safari vehicle. I mean, it was incredible. We saw Cape buffalo. We saw a leopard. Actually, we saw two leopards. Which is unheard of. They're really hard.
Yeah,
hard
I didn't
to
see
spot.
a leopard. Yeah,
I know, and we saw two. We saw two, and it was really, really, truly a life-changing trip. And I, saw a lot. And what's amazing about farmers is we're all same people, same type of people that either take care of animals or take care of the land. And
hard workers.
Hard workers. And it's the same in South Africa as it is here. So it was really a wonderful trip. And it was very cold here while I was gone. So I didn't feel too bad about being gone. It's still very cold here. And now we still can't ride horses, but it was just a great trip. And it's nice to be home. And I came back nice and energized and ready to get back to work. So
well, good.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're back because doing the
thank
show
you.
is I didn't do it on my own, and if you didn't come back, I didn't know what I was gonna do.
You weren't
try
gonna do
and
it
find
on
a different co-host or something. I don't know.
Thanks, Phil.
But that's great, and we've got a great show lined up. Who have we got today?
We do. We have a really, really good show. We have, for our highlight of the Global Dressage Forum North America, we have Jochen Schlesa, and he's going to talk about his book and what he's going to be talking about at the forum in a couple weeks.
Give us a little preview for his discussion on the forum, so that's awesome.
Exactly. And then we have Megan McIsaac.
Yeah.
She's going to talk to us. She's our reporter. She's also a friend and an FEI trainer from Wisconsin. She's going to talk a little bit about what happened at the FEI Succeed USDF conference. So that'll be really fun.
And a little bit of Canada news. We have Desi Dillingham, Special Advisor to Dressage Canada. She's got some really cool fundraising efforts and education stuff going on in Wellington right now. I mean, I know our whole shows are just dedicated to Wellington at the moment because there's so much going on.
Yeah.
And she's going to tell us a little bit about herself and her role within Dressage Canada and some of the stuff that's going on in Wellington to do with Dressage Canada and our team and some events that are open to everybody. So more education stuff. She's also going to be talking at the Global Dressage Forum North America. So I think for the next few weeks, at least, these shows are going to be jam-packed because we're just going to be promoting all these things and getting people on. And then we're heading to Florida. So
I know. I can't wait. I'm really excited for our learning journey here in a few weeks. So it'll be really fun. I'm sure Phil and I, of course, we always have a great time and we'll get to see some friends and but really do some work and do some professional development, which, we're trying to really, we do that here on the show, as you guys know. And we want to encourage everyone to think about either going to Wellington or even doing a lot of or some research online on some different sites. So should be lots of fun. So, Phil, just on that note, there are some other news going on in Florida. We wanted to bring some events that are going on. And this is a website, experiencedressage.com, which I talked a little bit about this summer. I went to their unveiling of that website at, I think it was the festival that was here in the fall. But it's experiencedressage.com. Go on that website. And basically what it is there's a launch party. And it's a website, it's USEF High Performance Dressage Owners Task Force. And there'll be a reception sort of introducing that website. And the aim of this website is connecting U.S. high performance riders with potential owners and syndicates. The task force aims to broaden U.S. horse ownership, development, and maintain owner awareness and appreciation to enhance the experience of horse ownership at all levels. So I hope that everybody takes a look at that, and our owners that you take a look at it. It's a really cool concept, and I hope somebody you take a little bit of time to take a look at that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And I guess there's some more clinics and educational opportunities coming up with the USEF and USET Foundation Dressage Pipeline Clinic, and maybe Reese, you can tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. This is another great experience that's sponsored by Betsy Giuliano and Haven Safe Farm. And Betsy is a friend of mine, but also just a wonderful lady, and she's very giving. And these are clinics. It's a unique opportunity to witness U.S. dressage pipeline of riders' horses in action, all together in one clinic. All 4 dressage coaches will be working together to demonstrate the harmonization and the coaching programs in the U.S. Robert Dover, U.S. Technical Advisor and Chef to Keep, Debbie McDonald, Developing Coach, Scott Hassler, National Young Horse Coach, and Jeremy Steinberg, USEF Youth Coach. And the clinic will take place January 28th through 29th in Wellington at the Global Grounds, starting at 9:30 to 4, and auditors are encouraged. And there's a registration that you can find online for that. So I hope everyone who is in Wellington takes advantage of that, because, again, an awesome opportunity. And I'm sad that I'm not there. But next year.
It'll be okay. Yeah, taking a year off from traveling all the way down south, eh?
Yes, exactly.
Well, another exciting news, I guess, that was while you were gone. Some of our listeners may have seen it on the internet, but you won a scholarship program or some money from USCF?
Yes, I did.
Tell us about that.
It's from the Dressage Foundation, actually.
Okay.
And we've had the Dressage Foundation has come on before. And this will actually help my Florida adventure next year to make everything happen. But I won the Lindgren Scholarship. And it's actually the total Lindgren Scholarship is a $10,000 award. And it helps to provide financial support to enable dressage instructors to train in a concentrated amount of time to improve teaching, riding, and training. So I was lucky enough. I won the $6,000 grant, which was wonderful. And that's available for certified instructors to receive. And then Gina Durham and Jamie Kement, they won a $2,000 scholarship each. So thank you, Dressage Foundation. And, we try to bring these opportunities to everybody on the show. The Dressage Foundation is a great place. Really, when I wanted to have this grant for 2 of my horses to kind of continue. And this will really help me financially to make that happen. So that was fun. And I'm looking forward to it. And I'll keep everybody apprised on what's going to happen, but I'll use it this time next year is the plan.
Awesome. Well, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. So very good. Well, how about, Phil, after this commercial break, we will go to Desi Dillingham and to find out what's going on with Dressage Canada.
The Global Dressage Forum North America, the ultimate educational experience where champions meet.
After this winter, who won't want to be in Wellington, Florida for the 2nd Annual Global Dressage Forum North America, presented by DressageClinic.com. Mark your calendars and book your plane tickets for the event of the season, Saturday, February 15th and Sunday, February 16th at the Jim Brandon Center. Some of the world's most recognized dressage experts and educators, including Stefan Clark, international rider Jan Brink, Konrad Schumacher, Christoph Hess, and many, many more will be presenting on-stage demonstrations, lectures, interactive discussions, and panels consisting of some of the world's most internationally recognized trainers and judges. Did we mention the shopping in the warm Florida sun in February? The Global Dressage Forum North America 2014 is presenting the highest profile educational gathering ever to be held in North America, encouraging every dressage rider from across the U.S. and Canada to come and participate in this gathering representing dressage education in its finest form. Buy your tickets now as seating is limited. Be sure to use the coupon code USDF, the number 4, DFNA. That's USDF, the number 4, DFNA, all caps, for a big savings on your tickets. Visit the website today at globaldressageforumna.com or call them at 561-909-7621. That's 561-909-7621. Let them know you heard about it on the Dressage Radio Show.
Well, today I'd love to welcome Desi Dillingham, the Special Advisor to Dressage Canada, to the show. Welcome, Desi.
Delighted to be here, Philip.
Great. I guess I'd like to start the interview with about talking with you about your role to what is the Special Advisor to Dressage Canada?
Pulling a team of experts together. We have limited funds, as everyone knows, with our problems in London. We lost our on-the-podium funding. So as well as trying to assist the team, I'm having to head up the fundraising element as well and encourage and lead and, that sort of thing. Everyone that will willing to come forward to help.
Excellent. And what is your background, Desi, in being able to bring this all together?
Well, I'm a Canadian, born in Montreal, and my aunt was Barbara Kemp, who built the Olympic 3-day events course in Montreal, first woman ever to have the opportunity to build an Olympic course. I was born with a pony waiting for me. And we had 30 horses all my life, and we showed, we hunted, we did everything, mostly evented. And then I got the opportunity to be transferred to England for 1 year in 1973, and I thought, great, it'll give me a year to, get away from horses or, because my life had been so completely governed by a family with 30 horses, you don't have much spare time, as you can probably gather.
Yes, exactly.
And, I went to England. And I was transferred there with a Canadian company. And I never looked back. I'm afraid I failed because, of course, I got into horses like there was no tomorrow, and I've been there for 40 years.
Yeah, well, it follows you around, I guess. And it's kind of an illness, being around horses and with horses. So,
well, it's a passion, and it was great because as soon as I got away from horses, I realized how much I missed them and how much I loved them. So, there was no problems there. And I got back in a different way in England. And I started off just in London and would teach riding in Kensington Palace Gardens or the Knightsbridge Barracks. And it built a really good life for me because I was with a Canadian company called Drake International and I was running 18 cities in the UK, 4 in Switzerland, 5 in Germany, and our head office was Monte Carlo. So I got to see Europe on an expense account, which is what really appealed to me.
Yes, that sounds amazing.
Yes. Yeah. And then it took me about 10 years. I just pottered around, really, with horses. And then 10 years later, I met Jenny Lauriston Clark at a lunch. And that was just as I was opening my own company. And I started to sponsor her from 1984. And I sponsored her for 18 years. And she's Britain's top dressage woman.
Yes. I think a lot of our listeners should know about Jenny Lauriston. Yeah. A real...
Yeah. And then really my strength was a fundraiser and a party person and making it fun. And in 1984, I was invited on to the Olympic fundraising under Mark Phillips. And so I did that straight through to the year 2000 until just Olympic fundraising, which was wonderful fun. We had a great team up until 2000 when UK sport funding and lottery funding came in. And that was my first committee. Then I took over the supporters of dressage in 1990, and I took the membership from about 100 to 3,000 in 6 years. Then in 1995, I went to British Dressage as their marketing person. And then, but I mean, I'm still running my own business. These are none of these are paid jobs. Obviously, it's just voluntary. And then I was leaving that because I was setting up the supporters of British breeding in 1996. And lo and behold, British Dressage, well, it wasn't British Dressage, but it got into some financial difficulties. And all of the other disciplines were setting themselves up on their own, and dressage couldn't go. Because we didn't quite have the funding. So someone asked me to take it over just for 6 months to see if I could do it. And I was with 2 other friends, and we had a ball. We had a lovely time, but we were able to turn it around in 6 months, get it on a profitable basis. And then the membership said they really wanted to go it alone. So then I was told I couldn't possibly leave for the next 6 months, and that turned into 10 years.
Wow.
But I took the membership from 5,000 to 15,000. And we went from coming last in the world to, I left in 2007 and became president of the British Horse Society, but I'm still a vice president of British Dressage. And of course, in 2012, we beat the world.
Yeah, gold medal. It was incredible to watch.
Gold, team and individual gold and individual bronze. Yeah.
Excellent. So Dressage Canada is very lucky to have you. Yes.
Well, I mean, I'm only as good as my last medal, as they say, but it's amazing because, you always come back to your roots, don't you? I'm having a lovely time, and we've been following all the Canadian horses, and I have to say, obviously the sport's moved on since I got involved with British Dressage, but I am absolutely delighted by the quality of the horses, the quality of the riders, the enthusiasm of the riders. I'm really impressed with a lot of the training in this country. And I'm really very positive about where we are. We've had wonderful response to the Florida Fortnight. We had 85 people last night at our opening it was the media presentation.
Excellent.
We've got I'm just writing my notes right now. We've got a fantastic vet panel today with some of the top vets in the world. We've got Dr. Jeff Burden, we've got Brendan Furlong, and we've got Dr. Caroline Weinberg. And one other by the name of Natasha Werpy, and we've got I think 35, 40 people coming to this talk. So
fantastic.
It moves on. Yeah. Most of our things are 35, 30.
Sorry, I was just going to say if you could tell us a little bit about how the fortnight came about and the idea and the concept around it, and then we can talk a little bit more about the specifics of what's going on over the next 2 weeks.
What happened is that in March last year, 2013, I was invited to be a guest speaker in Florida at Dressage Canada's conference. They were having a think tank of the way forward, etc., having their status changed with the loss of revenue. And anyway, but I just stood up and talked, and I said that my vision was that you needed to bring everyone to a common ground because of the size of the country. And I have to say, a winter that is quite unforgiving. And I suggested that Florida be the place because so many, and I mean, we did look, I've had a lot of people say, well, why not California? But when you take a look, you say, number one, there's 6, CDIs in California, and there's 9 in Florida.
Yeah.
Florida, you can come down to in December, and everything is within, a stone's throw of each other. California starts mid-Feb, and it's also can be a couple of 100 miles between events. And the prize money in California is not as good as Florida. And when we took a look at the horses from California come to Florida. The horses from Florida don't appear to go back to compete in California.
Right.
So that's why Florida won the bid.
Right, sort of. Yeah, I mean, and so many of our riders, I know from Ontario, already have established businesses, kind of in Wellington, and they've been going for many years. Yep. So it kind of makes sense.
Yep, exactly. Exactly. So, I just made this suggestion and said, that's what I saw. And they said, would I think it's coming back to help?
Oh, I see.
And I said, well, I don't come back. I live in England, and I'm not going to change that, obviously, because I've been there that long and I'm very well established there. But I thought I could do a winter in, coming back and forth to Florida.
Excellent. And so let's talk about some of the events that were put together for this Dressage Canada fortnight.
Yep. Well, first I have my advisory team.
Yes.
And I brought in Dr. Volker Moritz. Okay. He's one of the only retired judges in the world that actually has done it all from absolute start to finish. He's owned, ridden, trained. It brought a famous horse like Ideal to the forefront. He's had a judging career of like 37 years. He's been an O judge for the last 20 years. He's president of the biggest horse show, the Mecca for dressage, which is Aachen. And he's been the president for the last 10 years. But what is so important about him is that he can sit down and he can say, okay, you've got a problem that goes back to the basics, and he knows how to give you an exercise to try to help that problem. And a lot of judges can say, no, you're doing it wrong, but they can't tell you how to fix it.
Right.
So that's where he's so important. And then I brought in, who else? I brought in Cara Whittam. She's the only person to be a 5-star judge in both eventing and dressage. And I mean, she and I have known each other since we were 16. And so, what she doesn't know isn't worth knowing. So that's good. Then I asked the riders, I said, okay, if we're putting a team together, who would you like? And all of them said, well, the one we want wouldn't do it. She's moved on. And I said, okay, give me her name. And it was Victoria Winter. And we had lunch. I phoned her from the States where we were, and I had lunch with her. And she agreed to come on board, even though she's now a lawyer and she has a child. But boy, she's been fantastic. And that was the rider's choice. So we're trying to bring everyone together as a team. I have to say, I love Dressage Canada. Christine Peters has been fantastic. And we just make a really good team. And we're having fun, which I believe is more important than anything.
Yes, well, it sounds excellent. I've seen all the publicity around this Dressage Canada fortnight, and it sounds exciting, and all these great events going on. So is there a way that people can find more information on it? Can you still register? Do you have to be a Dressage Canada member? I mean, that's a lot of questions, but...
I don't know. Christine, do they have to be Canada Dressage members in order to register online? Nope. Anyone can come.
Anyone can go.
And they can still register. And you see everything. We're keeping everything up. We had the media night last night, which was absolutely brilliant. And Mason Phelps of Phelps Media turned around and threw a party for 85 people at the end of it as a welcome. So
awesome.
It was just amazing. Yeah,
Sounds like a lot of fun. So all this information can be found on...
Marketing man.
Oh, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He brought in the top branding guy from Troika, which is one of the biggest sports promotion companies in the U.S. He brought in Marty Bowman, who's done 35 years and done every Olympic and every world, and 7 worlds in this country, and has done 3 Olympic Games as press chief. So and we brought in Ariel Wiseman from Altec to tell us how they see the sport and why they've become the biggest sponsor in the world through Altec. They're now sponsoring WEG in Normandy. Yep.
Yeah.
So it was great. It was absolutely first rate.
It sounds like you got all the top people for this team, and to help to help Dressage Canada, but also other people that are down there in Wellington.
Yeah, but you know what? We set a precedent too, because we're just going for excellence everywhere. And it's amazing how many people are willing to help us. The horse world is a family, and look at me, I'm Canadian, British, now Canadian again, and I'm talking at the Global Forum, and there's Conrad Schumacher, who was my first trainer in British dressage. There's Stephen Clark, who came on head of judges to my newly formed board. There's Christoph Hess, who helped me set up the World Cup. So we have no borders. It's all just one family as far as I see it.
Yes, excellent. All striving towards common goal of, having fun and supporting teams and making better riders and
Well,
having
what
a
I
good
said
time.
to the riders last night is that we're trying to help you. We're starting with you. So we're looking to help you individually. Then you've got, you can go from hero to zero in a nanosecond.
Yeah.
And what you've got to do is you've got to make sure that you can think properly. We did mock press conferences and asked very awkward questions after we'd had this presentation from these 4 top guys. And then, but anyway, they have to look at that it's them. Then they've got to worry about team. They've got to worry about Canada dressage and our world status. Then the next thing they've got to think about is the sport of dressage worldwide. And then the last but not least is that the Olympics are our absolute apex. And we have got to maintain our sport properly so we can remain within the Olympic movement. So it's a big picture, and it starts at home with the individual.
Yeah. That sounds excellent. That sounds excellent. So before I let you go here, Desi, is there any upcoming things with Dressage Canada after the fortnight you'd like to promote or talk about?
Well, yes, we have a CDI in Toronto. We have a CDI in Toronto at the end of June. Is it called Angelstone?
Yeah, Angelstone Farm.
Angelstone.
Yeah.
Angelstone, and we're going to try to do a small fundraising dinner there. We're looking to do a great big mass ball just before the Royal Winter Fair starts, but that's just very much in the planning process. But we're thinking that it's a perfect opportunity when everyone comes across Canada. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's
So it
lots
sounds,
of,
lots is going on.
Deborah Kinzinger, who is the owner of David Marcus's horses, has taken over and set up something called CDAP, which is the Canadian Dressage Athletes Assistance Program. And she's doing lots of fundraising things, and she's putting all the money back in to helping our athletes to achieve their personal best. I've only got 10 months or even less now to help our team from the time I started. And I can't make any changes anywhere other than to help every horse and rider do the very best of their ability. We need to get horses to that 70%. We are so close to getting the 70%, and I feel so encouraged by seeing them all. The proof will be in the pudding. The show starts tomorrow.
Right. Well, it sounds excellent.
So we got 5 judges to help us, to tell us how we're actually doing. But we've got some fabulous horses, some fabulous riders, and it's just a matter of pulling the whole thing together. But as a team, we're having a ball, and we've had a great time with all the riders, the owners, the sponsors, and it's really a very big, happy family right now.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for coming on the show with us today to tell us all about it, and hopefully we'll talk to you in the future about more upcoming plans and exciting things and opportunities.
Glenn the Geek here. The life of horse person is hard enough, and we all hate doing the required paperwork, and unfortunately many of us never get around to it, and it just piles up on our desk. That is about to change thanks to the EquiSketch Records app for your iPhone or iPad. My wife and I use it to track our horses, and we absolutely love this thing. EquiSketch Records is the most thorough and complete equestrian records app on the market today. We love this app because you can track your farrier work, your dental, your coggins, medicines, worming, and so much more. And you can get reminders on your device when all of these things are due. You'll never forget a worming or shots or farrier visit again. But it not only tracks your horse, you can also manage your horse shows, including individual events. You can manage riders, including lessons and memberships, and so much more. And you can sync it between your iPhone and your iPad, and all of this for the price of a couple of cups of coffee from Starbucks. Search for EquiSketch Records in the iOS App Store or go to EquiSketch.com. That's EquiSketch.com. EquiSketch.com.
Well, we are very excited today to have Jochen Schlese. He is our Global Dressage Forum North America Speaker of the Week. Jochen, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you for having me.
So, Jochen, you are going to speak at the forum on Saturday evening, and your topic is your horse suffering in pain? Obviously, this is a topic very near and dear to all of our hearts. Nobody wants our horses to be in pain in regards to any equipment. And so, can you talk to us a little bit about what you're going to be giving your lecture at the forum?
Yes. The title actually is exactly the same title I used for my book. Suffering in Silence is a little bit different. And the undertitle is The Saddle Fit Link to Physical and Psychological Trauma to Horses. And I met once a gentleman who said to me, the person who knows the how will always follow the person who knows the why. And I thought about it for a long time, and there's a lot of people, you have to do it this way because I say so, or this is how it's done. But when I come across some very experienced horse people, some of them trainers, and some of them veterinarians, and they start talking, this should be better, and it should be like that because of that reason. They explain the why, and not just because I say so. That was so impressive for me because that made sense. And the best part was, it's not based on opinion. It's based on technology and science. Now, I grew up, there were no people who went with a horse to horse chiropractor or osteopath. And back then we didn't talk about MRI for horses and tomography and all this stuff. So today we have technology, what makes the guessing work disappear, because this is the horse's nerves, this is where the horse's muscle atrophies, or here's where the shoulder really hurts because of what I can see with my technology tool. Back in the old days, could be coming from this point, could be coming from that. So there was more guessing than today we have facts. And that is what I like to show people. I said, these are pure facts, and the book was published by Trafalgar is also co-authored by other veterinarians who don't care what specific division you ride, if it's hunter, jumper, dressage, eventers, or even western. A horse doesn't choose to be a particular shape. Now, I find it particularly interesting for dressage horses because the rider connects so close with the horse. And what Andreas is doing is so fabulous because he gets so many fantastic speakers together. The speaker right in front of me, Eckhard Meiners, who looks at it and says, we need to work on the rider as well. And in saddle fitting, it's a huge part. Because if I'm the rider and I'm a little bit uncomfortable in the saddle and I scoop myself away from the front or my seat bone hurts, I'm balancing myself to avoid my pain. And I'm not necessarily doing this on purpose, subconsciously. I have a lot of sensitivity in my fingertips, but as humans, we have way more sensitivity in the nether region, in the area where I'm hitting on. And so subconsciously you're leaning back because you don't want to burn and rub and hurt and bleed. Dr. James Watson wrote the book, The Rider's Pain-Free Back, and it was fascinating to hear and to read that there's many riders, mainly women, who have chronic bladder and kidney infection from bad saddles, and hip and knee problems, and L4 and L5 disc issue. Now, these are long-term damages, but put yourself into the position of the rider. We love our horse. We do the best we can. But if I'm not quiet in the saddle, or I don't be flexible enough, then I don't do a good job for my horse. And that's what I love about the Global Dressage Forum. Andreas puts these experts together. Right in front of me is Eckhard Meiners from Germany, who talks about the flexibility of the rider and proper how the body works. And then comes the product, the saddle. And if I sit in a gender non-appropriate saddle, let me explain that a little bit. Men make saddles for men since 4,500 years, but women are the majority of the rider since 20 years or so. men do not have birth channel, and men have a longer tailbone, and our hip socket and our pelvis axis is in the middle so that the male rider is more balanced. And even though the whole saddle is made to a pelvis, what looks in the imprint of the saddle like a V. Now, if I look at the female pelvis, birth channel, pelvis axis further forward, has a little different hip socket. This all was totally foreign for me, even after I made already over 15-year saddles. Here comes this gynecologist with two plastic pelvises and tells me all these features. Now, the rider from today has an option. Do I buy a saddle where my pelvis gets jammed into a V, such as a male saddle, or do I buy a saddle where my seat is curved more like a U, like a nice big U? So I see the help with Andreas, many horses, dressage horses, will be helped if the rider sits more comfortable. For the horse, it's very close to my heart because I lost my best friend because of equipment. Now, that was back then in 78 to 81. I rode for the German team as a 3-day event rider as a junior team, and we took our horse to all these different trainers and all these different universities. Check out why is he lame under the front left. So it ended up that we had to block it to figure out what the problem was. We put this massive cream onto the shoulder, and right there on the shoulder, after 3 weeks or so, all the infection got away. We waited another 3 months. I rode. I said, I have my horse back. But what happened was that the tree was literally crippling his cartilage on his left shoulder. Now, the question comes to my mind now, why don't we know this as riders, and why do we not know this as saddle makers? Answer is very easy. Here's that question, why again, how I started the interview with you too. Why? Because in the old days, people who grew up with horses did saddles. Today, saddle making is a huge industry, and many of saddle makers never see the horse or doesn't ride. That doesn't make them a bad rider. It just doesn't understand the anatomy. It doesn't get taught. Today, there are different situations through the help with Andreas and the Global Dressage Forum, or with the USDF, or with the German National Riding Center. We make this a need to know. It's a course what is going to be not just a course, it's going to be a profession in 4 years in Germany. It's called equine agronomist. Now, what do I want to achieve and what do I want to get across the Global Dressage Forum? I like to show every horse rider who loves a horse and is concerned about, oh, wow, is that really my gender-appropriate saddle? How do I recognize that this saddle will really fit me? Very easy, very couple points I can point out. And number two, how can I make sure my saddle will fit my horse while he's trained and get more muscles? So with little slideshows, with short little movie clips, and with a live horse, we make it very visible for every rider to say, wow, it's really not rocket science. What he's showing us here is that the saddle should not hit on negative reflex points on the horse. One of them, we're not going in all the 5 negative reflex points, but I give you one tip. One of them is right underneath the D-ring of the saddle in the front part. It's called cranial nerve 11. Since 35 million years, the stallion, when they fight, they go and bite either on the bottom of the neck or on top of the withers. When the stallion mounts the mare, he bites her in the neck because that nerve, when he bites her there in that nerve, around the withers, the shoulders will be blocked. It's a reflex point, like the dog gets to below your kneecap and your leg goes forward. So that reflex point will tighten the back muscle, which rotates the pelvis open, and he can breathe her. The only thing what has the force like a stallion's butt is a metal plate what's in the saddle. 100 years ago, it was a must for every soldier, and it's the first thing the officers told their soldiers: move the horsehair and the deer hair, or have your saddle away from that negative reflex point, and your horse will not go hollow in the back or will not want to go forward and won't bite you when you girth. So these negative reflex points I will show at the Global Dressage point, and it's really easy. It's a lot of information, I realize this, and that's why I have this book where everybody can read up. We have tons of videos free. People can buy them, but they're free on our website at schlese.com or saddlefit.com. And we really want to bring across that horse and riders could be such a more harmony together, because the horse wants to please us. It doesn't want to bite us or doesn't want to not work. It's in their nature to accept us as their alpha mare, but doesn't understand, why are you hitting me on my negative reflex point? Does that make sense to you, Reese?
Yeah, that's great. And we really appreciate, Jochen, you coming on and giving this discussion. I think it is wonderful. You also gave this also at the USCF. And it's very helpful for everybody to learn. And, you know, we can read your book, Suffering in Silence, before the forum. And I hope everyone will be able to come by and see you at the forum and listen to your lecture. And you're very, very easy to talk to. And so I really appreciate your time. So, Jochen, if people want to get some more information about you and also the book, where do they find that online?
Trafalgar has that, or Amazon carries the book. And on our website, schlese.com or saddlefitforlife.com is saddle, fit, one word, and then the number 4, and then life.com.
Great.
You can click right there. You will find it. And before I forget, I forgot to mention one little thing. Many people say to me, why do you teach other saddle fitters? Why do you teach other saddle makers? You're giving all the secrets away. Right there is where my blood pressure was really high. And I look at him in the eye and say, this is not my secret or knowledge to keep. A, everything I show them is online, on books. Second, if we would work together, all the trainers, all the saddle makers, I think not only do we have a chance to be a little bit more competitive, and the horses last longer. The horses, I mean, think about ballroom dancing. You want to shove your partner around, it looks ugly. Good dancer, they float over the floor. Good riders, they have the intention, but here's that stupid tool called saddle, which could hit one of the negative reflex bands, and the poor rider doesn't even know what's happening. That's the title, Suffering in Silence. And
right.
I'm enjoying it tremendously working with other saddle makers, other veterinarians and trainers, because there's so many horses would need their help, and I only have 2 hands. I can't be everywhere.
It's so true. And at the end of the day, we're all in it for the horses and for their comfort.
That's right.
And so it's a wonderful way. And I think that's really the whole idea of the Global Dressage Forum North America, is sharing ideas and sharing information with other professionals on all facets of the industry. So we look forward, Philip and I are coming. We look forward to seeing you down there, and we hope that all our listeners will come and see us as well. So Jochen, thanks so much, and we'll see you in a couple weeks.
Thank you very much for having me on your show.
Top dressage horses are like athletes. There's a whole team of people involved in their training.
It's time for the Dressage Radio Show Weekly Training Tip, brought to you by Fleeceworks. Designers and manufacturers of top quality pure Australian merino wool saddle pads and accessories for your equine teammate.
Well, we are so very excited to have a good friend of both Philip and mine, Megan McIsaac. She's an FEI rider and trainer from Wisconsin. Hi, Megan. How are you?
Hi, I'm a little cold now, but otherwise I'm fabulous. I wish I was still in Florida.
I was going to say, you have a great report for us. And sadly, you are back up north with Philip and I. And it is the same temperature in Wisconsin as it is in Kentucky right now, which we know Philip is cold, but the fact that I'm the same temperature as you is really a very, very sad
That doesn't
thing.
make much sense, really,
No.
if I know anything about geography.
No, exactly. So we are
Not
happily
at all.
recording a little early today because I'm not riding today. It is way too cold. It's -2 in Kentucky, and I am just not game for that. But Megan, we need some inspiration. You just got back from the USDF FEI Trainers Conference, and we wanted you to kind of come on the show and talk to us a little bit about what happened down there.
You bet. It was awesome. It was Stefan Peters and Scott Hassler, and I think there were 7 riders, and it was just really inspirational. The main theme of the entire day was taking each individual horse and rider and finding the right frame and tempo to gain better access to our horses mentally, as well as developing better throughness, suppleness, and engagement. And it was located at High Meadow Farm in Loxahatchee, Florida. Mary Ann McPhail hosted, and I didn't realize she's hosted it for 10 years. And it's just a beautiful facility, really awesome. And I have to just kind of make a little plug because the sponsors, Succeed, USDF, Equus, Saddle Fit for Life, and all the volunteers, like for food and chairs, was Dressage for Kids, a winter intensive training program, and Horse, of course. And I was lucky enough to go down with Judge Jane Ayers, and I was able to sit between Jane and Carol Lavelle and just listen to their conversation. And so I felt like I was in VIP seating. Not only did I have Scott and Stefan, it was just a great training opportunity. And so the advice I came home with, I'll just kind of list it out, and it's take-home advice, I think, for everyone. And Scott always says, be your horse's coach and coach with composure. And I felt like every time Stefan gets on and rides the horses, he's just a great example of this. He's so inspiring, and it's just so addicting to watch. And he's, if there's a training problem, for instance, one of these horses was very nervous about the people, and he kept spooking, and Stefan took the time to just hand walk and let the horse see all the people. And then he got on and walked again. And so he didn't just put the horse right to work. He really took the time, and I think that's a major thing for everyone to take home. Another thing is dressage for Stefan. He said at the end of the day, he's looking for harmony and that everything is effortless. And he's just everything he does, every horse he gets on, it's just a great example. So I felt fortunate, and he got on most of the horses. And it just is so inspiring. Let me go down my list of other things that I saw and wrote down. The horse needs to come first. We need to explore options if they're confused. And it's thinking about not giving aids, but asking them questions and getting our horses to become more comfortable and let go. And we as riders, we really need to ask ourselves, did we really have a purpose with that training session? What was the purpose? What was the goal? Did we get through to our horses? Another interesting thing was, these were fabulous horses, and one of them was extremely powerful. And what was nice to see is, Stefan didn't just get on and focus on the hind leg. It was about, does this horse really understand our half halt, and does he respect it rather than just running off? And he's beautiful, but can he come back? Can we use our transition? And rather than, he was a big horse, he was almost 18 hands, rather than letting him know his power, does he respect us first? So he actually worked on the transitions. And then another key thing, too, because I know in all of the lessons I've ever had, it's about the hind leg and the lessons that I give, focusing on that hind leg. But before we ask for more hind leg, we need to ask, how is our horse using his top line? Is he truly supple and swinging before we start to push for more? And in the warm-up, he went, testing how little aid can we use, and how does our horse react? For an example, just cantering, can we bring our horse to the pirouette canter sooner? And is it easy, or do we really have to pull and push? If it's that complicated, that's something we need to work on before we go even further. Scott Hassler, he's always so positive, and some of his advice was ride to own it. Own that partnership with our horse. Along the lines of saying, with being that coach. Be proactive, not reactive. Inspiring our horses, putting energy into our horses rather than taking that energy away from them. Stefan touched upon, training is really like how we train in the gym. It's about muscle memory. So it's very important that each transition, we're really analyzing, was that a good enough transition? The other interesting thing that I saw theme throughout, and this was just my observation, is that he picked up the canter much sooner with all of these horses. And the majority of the lessons were built in the canter. And his thought on that was about teaching the horse engagement. And with the canter, biomechanics, you go right to that. And I thought that was really interesting because in some lessons that I've had or even taught, we use up our horse in the trot. And then by the time we get to the canter, the horse is exhausted. And I really enjoyed that. Another thing I came away with, when we're having problems with the changes, the flying lead changes, that is, I always knew is probably the quality of the canter, but it's also sometimes the horse is just figuring out the coordination of his own body and giving him time to do that and really analyzing what is the problem in that situation. Let's see here.
Megan, maybe if I could just jump in here quickly. I'd like to return to what you said was kind of the major theme and talk a little bit about, maybe you could, find each individual horse's right frame and rhythm. And maybe you can elaborate a little bit on that, because I think that we know that every horse is an individual and every horse is, needs to be trained a little bit, just, a little bit differently. Give us some examples of what to do if you've got different types of horses, maybe it's, some of that you learned.
You bet. One of the horses was the big horse that I was talking about, was just using his frame against his rider. And when Stefan got on, he actually took that horse a little bit, what most people would say, a little bit too deep and low and behind the vertical, because that was a comfortable place for him. Rather than what he wanted to do was raise his head up and lock his entire body against that rider and zoom off with all of his power. Also slowing that tempo down to find his balance before just pushing him forward and through that. Let me look at some of my notes. Some horses were a little bit too short in the bridle, sometimes working with the double bridle and some of the collection, they became too short. And so there was a lot of changes within the frame. So giving those horses a break and going to a longer frame and really testing to see can that horse relax? And so it was also about changing the frame. So rather than just bringing them up to the show frame, sometimes taking them a little bit longer and deeper. as well as, when we think of our warm-up, we don't always want to do the same warm-up. And a lot of times, we've been told, let's do that long and low. We have to get to the long and low. So it's not, taking that individual horse. Maybe this horse is more on the forehand. Why do that long and low? Maybe take that horse up into a shorter frame. So those are two examples of that that I saw over the weekend. I'm looking at my notes.
So Megan, overall, you've seen Scott and Stefan at least twice, correct?
Yeah.
What was seeing them again? Tell us a little bit about what it was like to see them again for the second or third time together.
In terms of what I learned, or just their rapport together, they're
both.
There's both. They're really great because Stefan typically rides the horses, and they're very supportive of one another, but they can also disagree on things. Usually they're pretty similar in training style, but it's so great to see them over and over again because they're both so positive. And, Stefan just reminded me again, I don't think I'm using as light of aids as I could with some of my training horses. I can't wait to get on and go, oh yeah, I'm asking too much. And then Scott, of course, is always I just always lead the clinic with such a positive attitude. I'm re-energized to come home and bring that to my horses and bring that to my students. Does that answer that question?
Yeah, no, that's great.
Yeah, that's excellent. I wanted to thank you, Megan, for coming on and giving us, your little perspective and report about the training conference, and we can tell from your voice how excited you are to use what you've learned and come home and ride your horses. And I think we all do that. We always need a bit of a break from our own barn to kind of gain perspective and get inspired. And of course, Wellington is a great place to do that. Megan, if people want to find you, in Wisconsin or talk to you, how can they do that?
They can look me up on the internet. I have a website. It's lindenhof.com, and that's spelled LINDINHOF.com. They're welcome to email me or call. My number is 608-445-8531, and I'd love to talk about dressage.
Well, Phil, it was great to be kind of, back in the saddle here at the Horse Radio Network after I was gone for 2 weeks. So hopefully everybody enjoyed the shows, and it's just sort of nice. I am hoping that for most of the country it warms up so we can actually ride.
Yeah, that would be nice, huh?
It would be very nice. All my horses were all kind of looking at each other, but happy not to really take the blankets off and get working. So we're supposed to warm up a little bit over the weekend. I think at least we'll get 2 good days, Saturday, Sunday. It's going to hit 32. Wow.
Almost, yeah. Almost warm.
Bust out the T-shirts.
Yeah.
Well, next week, Phil, we are off, so I hope you enjoy the week. I'm going to miss you. I was just getting back in routine. But next week's the Para Show, and then we will get back together early February, and we will have more discussion on the Global Dressage Forum North America. How does that sound?
That sounds awesome. We've got some great guests that we're trying to line up, so hopefully our listeners are as excited as we are about it, and, just looking forward to it.
Exactly. Well, everybody, you can find our show notes and links to today's guests on our website, dressageradio.com. Like us on Facebook, just search Dressage Radio Show. Follow us on Twitter @Horse Radio. My website is Maple Crest Farm KY, and my email is reese@horseradionetwork.com.
You can find me at philipparksequestrian.com, and my email is philip@horseradionetwork.com. I'd like to thank our great sponsors for allowing us to put on another great show. And don't forget to check out all the other shows on the Horse Radio Network at horseradionetwork.com.
Everybody, keep your heels down and your shoulders back, and we'll talk to you next week.